Human beings can alter the course of their life. Human beings can live one way for 5 years, tear up that script, live a totally different way the next 5 years. The first 6 years of my economic life, I wound up broke. Second 6 years, I wound up rich. Someone says, don't you have to do the second 6 years like you did the first 6 years? And jot this down. No. No, you don't have to live the second 6 years like the first 6. You can use all the information and all the advice and repairing all of your mistakes and adopting a new and refined philosophy so that the next 6 years can be totally different than the last 6. All of these major questions, what about my life and my value and my place and my future? And what about life? What about origin? What about destiny? What about opportunity? What about possibility? All of these major questions, to let them go casually by is to miss the treasures that your life could accumulate into in the coming months, the coming years. So this is called major. What we ponder and what we think about sets the course of our life. It's like the set of the sail that's taking us somewhere. Self-confidence comes from the lack of neglect. If you will not neglect to do the small daily discipline, that's where self-confidence comes from. Part of good health is self-confidence. I know I'm going to be healthy. I eat the apple a day. I walk around the block. I do the jogging on the beach. At the end of the day, when you've really poured it on and you've done all the stuff, self-confidence grows. That self-confidence affects your health. It affects your future. It affects your psyche. Self-confidence means willingness to do whatever it takes to achieve. Whenever you prepare correctly, taking all of the steps you're supposed to take, doing everything in your power to stay on track, whenever your preparations lead to success, achieving your goals, you reinforce the disciplines that got you there. Success leads to reinforcement of the proper discipline. If what you're doing is working, keep doing it. If what you're doing isn't working, change it. If I grow, think of what that will do for my future. Self-development earns success. Self-investment earns respect. And the only way to make a better and better and better investment in your future is to become better and stronger and wiser and more competent. And the more attractive you become, the more attractive you are. And the more attractive you are, the more you attract success. Self-development, self-investment attracts success. That's powerful. Personal success is built on the foundation of character, and character is the result of hundreds and hundreds of choices you may make that gradually turn who you are at any given moment into who you want to be. If that decision-making process is not present, you'll still be somebody. You'll still be alive. But you may have a personality rather than a character. And to me, that's something very different. Character isn't something you were born with and can't change, like your fingerprints. It's something you weren't born with, and that you must take responsibility for forming. There used to be a joke about football teams that lost every game. The coach would say, "We built a lot of character this year, didn't we?" As if character is something that you settle for when you haven't achieved what you really wanted or automatically develops as a result of adversity. I don't buy that. I don't think adversity by itself builds character, and I certainly don't think that success erodes it. You build character by how you respond to what happens in your life, whether it's winning every game or losing every game or getting rich or dealing with hard times. You build character from certain qualities that you must create and diligently nurture within yourself, just like you would plant and water a seed or gather wood to build a campfire. You've got to look for those things in your heart and in your gut. You've got to chisel away in order to find them, just like chiseling away rock to create the sculpture that has previously existed only in the imagination. But the really amazing thing about character is that if you're sincerely committed to making yourself into the person you want to be, you'll not only create those qualities, you'll strengthen them and recreate them in abundance, even as you're drawing on them every day of your life. That's why building your character is vital, becoming all that you can be. When you are a person of character, you know who you are and where you want to go. You've already spent a great deal of time thinking about it. You've been working on the parts of your personality that will make you better. Your attitude, your health, your time management skills. You've been putting it all down on paper, and you've developed positive self-direction. As you talk with yourself every day, how often do you ask, is what I am doing today getting me closer to where I want to be tomorrow? Because here's what you don't want to ever do. Kid yourself. Kid your neighbor and kid me in Kid Marketplace if you want to, but don't kid yourself. You can't wait around with your fingers crossed, hoping you'll arrive at a good destination when you're not even headed in the right direction. You say, well, maybe the wind will take me. There's a chance, of course, but it's about as likely as winning the lottery. You've got to take charge. Ancient scripture says that hope, if it's delayed long enough, can make the heart sick. You've got to ask yourself, often, am I performing the disciplines that are taking me in the direction that I want to go? I don't want to delude myself and think I'm on the way to financial success when there's not a prayer. I don't want to delude myself into thinking there's someone else who will take care of it. Nobody else is going to take care of it. Nobody else is going to take care of me. What if all of your negative thinking relatives turned positive? What would that do for your fortune and your future? Not much. If prices came down a little, what would that do for your sophistication and your culture? Not much. If the economy gets a little better, what would that do for you? Not much. If you don't make plans of your own, you'll fit into someone else's plans. And what do you think they have planned for you? Not much. Most people wake up every morning counting on this not much list. And that's all they have. Not much. Not much hope. Not much promise. Not much progress. They're driving what they don't want to drive, living what they don't want to live, doing what they don't want to do. Forget the thief waiting in the alley to snatch your purse. What about the thief in your mind? He is tempting you to become lazy, not stimulated by thoughts and questions. Don't become a victim of yourself. Ask yourself these questions. Is this the direction that I want for my life? Is it someone else's direction? Is it a goal that has been ingrained in me since my childhood? Is it my parents', my spouse's, my boss, or my children's? Is it mine? Ask yourself these questions. Get into the debate of your inner mind. What am I doing that works? What am I doing that doesn't work? Debate it all. Work with your mind to figure out the best possible direction for you. This is your self-direction. There are two parts to positive self-direction. Part one is self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is knowing who you are and what you want to do with your life. It is knowing how you feel about yourself. Self-knowledge has a lot to do with your philosophy, and your philosophy has a lot to do with shaping your attitude. It helps determine how you feel about yourself, about life, about your direction, and about others around you. You've got to gather up enough knowledge and information to know what's right for you. How do you gather up this information? Well, you can start with your own experiences. The best way to know if something works for you, to find the right way, is to do it the wrong way. You can't keep doing it the wrong way. You've got to be smart enough to say, hey, this isn't working, and change it. Start doing it the right way. Then search for the knowledge and apply what's right for you to your life. Develop your own attitudes and philosophies around your own experiences and the experiences of others. Take all of the information you have gathered and compile it. Consider it, debate it, tear it apart, turn it upside down. Look at it from your own perspective and refine it to suit you. Rearrange it. Throw some of it out. Keep what you think will work for you. And most importantly, make sure that what you end up doing is the product of your own conclusion. Make sure that the knowledge that you are building is your own self-knowledge. The second component of positive self-direction is preparation. Being ready for the opportunities when they show up in your life. Being ready for the sales call that may make you a fortune. Being ready for the meeting that may positively affect your career. Being ready for it all, in expectation. It will come. If you wish to be ruler over many, you've got to be faithful with few. If you wish to have power and influence over many, be the leader of many, and get the return from many. Be faithful and disciplined when there's just a few. And do it in your own enlightened self-interest, because that gives you the best chance to have power, influence, and a place of honor among the many. Be faithful when there's just a few. Someone says, if I had a big organization, I'd really be on top of things. But I've just got a few employees, and I don't know where they are. Come on. When you've just got a few employees, you should know where all of them are. Let's say we were interviewing the parents of a fairly large family whose children have all grown up and gone. What if we said to them, what happened to all of your children? And they answered, I don't know. They just all wandered off. We'd ask, where did they all go? If they say, who knows? They're just all gone. We're just going to have some more. That's clearly not an acceptable attitude. If you've got a few employees, if you've got a few distributors, if you've got a few people you deal with, that's the time to sharpen your communication skills, of being in touch, getting prepared, giving the most of your heart and soul, in your own enlightened self-interest. Give it your all when there's a few. Be totally absorbed when there's just a few. Improve your reputation and skills, so when a leadership position opens up, you'll be called. The same thing goes with your money. Someone says, oh, if I had a fortune, I'd really take good care of it. But I've only got a small paycheck, and I don't know where it goes. Nobody would ever respond to the person who says, I don't know where it all goes, with, oh, we'd love to have you run our company, or you don't know where it all goes. Wow. You should be in charge of the world. Come on. Positive self-direction means paying very close attention to every dollar you have, really keeping track of where they come from and where they go. Create the discipline when the amount is small, and you'll be on your way to handling your money when the amount is large. Be ready for tomorrow by doing all that you can today. That's positive self-direction. In many ways, you are already a tremendous success. And it's important to take the time to appreciate what you've accomplished on the path to becoming all you can be. So I'd like you to take a self-appreciation inventory. Ask yourself a few questions. Start with, what have I achieved in the last 4 days, the last 2 weeks, the last 6 months, the last year, the last 10 years? What have I achieved during these time periods? Write the answers down. Take a self-appreciation inventory of all you've done and all you've accomplished and all you've become. Take inventory of yourself, then compare this list to your goals. Have you accomplished all you set out to do in the last 4 days, 2 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, and 10 years? Compare your lists. Maybe you've been so busy trying to reach your goals that you haven't taken the time to sit back and reflect on what you've achieved already. Look back at your list and say, wow, I really have been through a lot. I really have learned a lot. Look what I've done. Look what I've become. I wasn't like this 10 years ago or even 1 year ago. Look at me. I'm doing okay. Building personal success takes little steps. You need to focus on one step at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. It's like taking your family to a reunion where people haven't seen your kids for a year. They say, look how you've grown. You know your kids have grown, but when you see them every day, it's hard to notice. So write down all your accomplishments and see where you've been and what you've done and who you've become. You'll say, look how I've grown. Here's the next question in your self-appreciation inventory. What could I have achieved that I didn't? Be honest now. This is your own inventory. Nobody else has to see it. What could you have achieved over the last week, the last month, the last quarter, the last year? What could you have achieved that you didn't? Would a game plan have made a difference? Would a different direction have made a difference? Would greater preparation have made a difference? Would more discipline have made a difference? Would time management have made a difference? Ask yourself, what could I have achieved that I didn't? Now take this one step further with the question, what do I want to achieve in the next 4 days, the next 2 weeks, the next months, the next year, the next 10 years? This all falls in line with your goals. What you could achieve has to fall in line with what you want to achieve. And through the proper disciplines, practiced every day, the what could I do will naturally match up with what do I want to do. Here's another question. What can I do to achieve my goals that I'm not doing now? What things do you need to work on that you're not working on now? Remember, it's easy to do the little things every day. It's also easy not to do them. Are you appreciative of the progress you've made so far? It's important that you take time out to acknowledge yourself and your achievements. Consider where you've been and who you've become. Self-appreciation is a stage in personal evolution that demonstrates maturity and resolve. It comes from already being firmly set on the course of positive self-direction. You know you're on the right track and you have a wonderful blend of humility and self-esteem. You know that you're accomplishing your goals. And you know yourself enough and are confident enough to avoid needless bragging. Self-appreciation also says that you admit there's room for improvement. You know that you're on the right track, but you admit the need for continued growth. You seek out more books, more seminars, more skills, more disciplines, a greater awareness, and a bigger vision. There's always more room to grow. There's always more knowledge to gain, more skills to perfect. We're never done with the education process, because education is part of the path to wealth. Education is part of the path to health. Continued education can turn you around if you're headed in the wrong direction. We must never stop learning, growing, and expanding. And we must never forget to take the time to appreciate ourselves for what we have done in pursuit of what we want to become. Pessimism, the deadly disease of always looking on the bad side, the problem side, the difficult side, checking all the reasons why it can't be done. The poor pessimist leads an ugly life. He doesn't try to figure out what's right. He tries to figure out what's wrong. He doesn't look for virtue. He looks for faults. And when he finds them, he's delighted. How ugly. This is the poor guy who looks through the window, doesn't see the sunset. He sees the specks on the window. And this is the poor guy, right, who rushes up, takes such leave of his senses. This guy rushes up and he says, I've got 5 good reasons why it won't work. He's so dumb he doesn't know all he needs 1. He's got 5. To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people 2 different ways? Answer. It all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. Poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shoaff taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think, so you become. There wouldn't be positive without negative. It's part of the life scenario. Ancient scripture says it best. There's a time to laugh and a time to cry. You've got to become so sophisticated and well-educated that you don't laugh when it's time to cry. You've also got to learn to cry well. How are you going to identify with others if you don't cry with them? The negative side is very important, so don't ignore it. You need to let it be a part of the scenario. In fact, you need to learn to master it. Negativity is not to be ignored. It's to be mastered. It makes us better than we are to wrestle with it. It makes us better than we are to acknowledge and fight tyranny that moves into vulnerable countries, ignorance that moves into your life, procrastination that robs you of your fortune, or poor health. That's the legacy of neglecting your health disciplines. You've got to do battle with the enemies, those outside of you as well as those within. So learn how to handle the negative. Negativity can actually be a powerful force for change. It plays a key role in the day that turns your life around. There are 4 stages to the day that turns your life around, and the first is disgust. Disgust is a negative emotion, but it can have a very positive, motivating effect. Disgust says, "I've had it." What an important day that could be. I met a beautiful, accomplished, extraordinary woman in New York. She was the vice president of a company I did some work for. I got to know her, and I found out her story. She never went to high school or college. I said, "How did you get here?" She said, "Well, when I was a young mother, I once asked my husband for $10. And he said, 'What for?' Before that day was over, I decided I would never ask again. So I started looking for opportunities, taking classes, and putting myself through school. Now I'm a vice president, and I make a lot of money. I kept my promise because I've never, ever had to ask again. That was her life-changing day, the day she said, 'Enough is enough.'" The next stage in a life-changing day is decision. If you sat down today and made a list of changes you've decided to make, that list could furnish enough inspiration for the next 5 or 10 years. What an inspiring day. The day you bring yourself to decide to change your life. The third stage is desire, wanting that change badly enough. Sometimes desire waits for a trigger, waits for something to happen. It may be a movie, a seminar, a sermon, a book, a confrontation with an enemy, or a conversation with a friend who finally levels with you. Whatever the experience, it is so valuable. Here's my best advice. Welcome all experiences. You'll never know which one is going to turn your life around. Don't put up walls. The walls that keep out disappointment also keep out happiness. Take down the walls. Go for the experience. Let it teach you. The last stage of a life-changing day is resolve. Resolve says, "I will." These are 2 of the most powerful words in the language. The best definition of resolve I've ever heard came from a junior high school student in Foster City, California. I was addressing her class one day, and we were discussing some key words. I asked the kids, "Who can tell me what resolve means?" Some didn't know the answer, and some tried to guess. The last answer I got was the best. This girl about 2 rows back says, "I think I know, Mr. Rohn." I think resolve means promising yourself you'll never give up. I said, "That's the best definition I've ever heard." She's probably giving her own seminar somewhere today. Promise yourself you'll read the books until your skills change. You'll go to seminars until you get a handle on what they're teaching. You'll practice until you develop the skills. Never give up until you've gotten what you want. Don't miss the chance to grow. Resolve that you'll pay the price until you learn, change, grow, and become what you want to be. You'll discover some of life's best treasures when you pay that price. It's not what happens that determines the major part of your future. It's not what happens. What happens, happens to us all. He said the key is what you do about it. It's not what happens, it's what you do about it. And he said if you will start that process of change, do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different like the new health disciplines, relationship with your family, whatever it is, doesn't matter how small it is. If you'll start doing different things with the same circumstances, since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do. And then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, it starts to explain so much. Now, sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace. Taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got... I said, well, I said, if you... There are two phrases I'd like you to ponder for a moment. The first is that life and business are like the changing seasons. That's one of the best ways to illustrate life. It's like the seasons that change. Here's the second phrase. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. Now, with those two key phrases in mind, let's turn to what I consider to be the four major lessons in life to learn. The first lesson is this. Learn how to handle the winters. They come regularly, right after autumn. Some are long, some are short, some are difficult, some are easy, but they always come right after autumn. That is never going to change. There are all kinds of winters. The winter, when you can't figure it out. The winter, when everything seems to go haywire. One writer called it the winter of discontent. There are economic winters, social winters, personal winters, when your heart is smashed into 1,000 pieces. Wintertime brings disappointment, and disappointment is common to all of us. So learn how to handle the winters. You must learn how to handle the nights. They come right after days. You must learn how to handle difficulty. It always comes after opportunity. You must learn to handle recessions. They come right after expansions. That isn't going to change. The big question is, what do you do about winters? You can't get rid of January simply by tearing it off the calendar. But here's what you can do. You can get stronger. You can get wiser. And you can get better. Make a note of that trio of words. Stronger, wiser, better. The winters won't change, but you can. Before I understood this, I used to wish it were summer when it was winter. When things were difficult, I used to wish they were easy. I didn't know any better. Then Mr. Schoaf gave me the answer from a part of his very unique philosophy when he said, "Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom." Here is the second major lesson in life. Learn how to take advantage of the spring. Spring is opportunity. And spring always follows winter. What a great place for spring. Right after winter. If you were going to put it somewhere, that would be the place to put it. God is a genius. Days follow nights. Opportunity follows difficulty. Expansion follows recession. And this all happens with regularity. You can count on it. However, the mere arrival of spring is no sign that things are going to look good in the fall. You must do something with the spring. In fact, everyone has to get good at one of two things. Planting in the spring or begging in the fall. So take advantage of the day. Take advantage of the opportunity and read every book you can get your hands on to learn how to take advantage of the spring. Get busy quickly on your springs, your opportunities. There are just a handful of springs that have been handed to each of us. Life is brief, even at its longest. Whatever you are going to do with your life, get at it. Don't just let the seasons pass by. The third major lesson in life is this. Learn how to nourish and protect your crops all summer. Sure enough, as soon as you've planted, the busy bugs and noxious weeds are out to take things over. And here's the next bit of truth. They will take it unless you prevent it. There are two key phrases to consider with the third major lesson. The first is all good will be attacked. Don't press me for a reason. I was not in on some of the early decisions, so I don't know why. I just know that it's true. Let reality be your best beginning. Every garden will be invaded. The second phrase is, all values must be defended. Social values, political values, friendship values, business values, all must be defended. Every garden must be tended all summer. If you don't develop this skill, you'll never wind up with anything of value. The fourth major lesson in life is this. Learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. One of the highest forms of human maturity is accepting full responsibility. Learn how to reap in the fall without apology if you have done well and without complaint if you have not. That's being mature. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's the best way to be. The seasons don't work for you or against you. They just are what they are. They are guaranteed to come every year, bringing both the positive and the negative. So it's up to you to remember the four major lessons in life, prepare for them, and make the most of everything they offer.
Now I want you to answer this question. What kind of person must I become to achieve all I want? And I'll give you time to write that down now. What kind of person must I become to achieve all I want? Now we've got two things working. What you become helps you to achieve, and what you achieve helps you to become. And the more you become, the more you can achieve, and the more you achieve, the more you can become. Who knows which affects the other the most? So now just write this exercise. Start with a few sentences. We won't have time for you to, take a lot of time, but just start with a few sentences. Your concept of the person you think you must become to achieve what you want. This is time for a little truth here. Maybe you need to become much wiser than you are at the moment. You need to become stronger. You need to have better health. Maybe you need a little coaching to really become the person I want to become. I'm going to have some coaching, physical coaching, spiritual coaching, developing skills coach. To be the influence you want to be, you got to build an incredible reputation. What kind of person must I be to attract all that I want in my life and the people that I want and the opportunities that I want? When you knock on the door and opportunity opens, you must stand there as a very attractive person, or you may not be invited. One of the most mysterious and unique phrases that Jesus ever used. Here's what he said. I stand at the door and knock. And if you open the door, would you probably invite him in? This extraordinary person. You say, wow, yeah. And he said, if you invite me, I'll come in, sit down, talk things over. For you to be that kind of attractive person, that if you knocked on the door of opportunity and it opened and you stood there, would you be the kind of person that opportunity would say, come right in and sit down and let's talk about the future? What kind of person?